So we will study emergence, history and divergence of anthropology, how anthropology discourse came into the mainstream disciplines and accepted as a scientific study of human. So without wasting any time, we will just concentrate on for now we will just concentrate on that PPT we have prepared. So what we know from anthropology is the science of humanity, which studies human beings in aspects of ranging from the biology and evolutionary history of Homo sapiens to the features of society and cultural that decisively distinguish human from other animal species. So anthropology is a part of the science, like it's a science of humanity, right? So here come the animals and come the humans. Okay, humans. Certainly we can distinct ourselves, right? So the science of humanity, which studies human beings in aspects ranging from the biology and evolutionary history of Homo sapiens. So Homo sapiens, we are Homo sapiens. We will move further. We are saying that anthropology is a discipline devoted to the study of human being. It is a paradox that humans practically studied everything else before they turned their eyes on their own selves. So what they are saying? So anthropology is a discipline completely devoted to the study of human being, like his past, present and future and all the aspects covered by a human being or a society or a group, right? So it is a paradox that humans practically studied everything else before they turned their eyes on their own selves. So before concentrating, like before focusing on inner self, scientists have concentrated on the outer self more. After that, they came back and discovered that there is, like, we also exist, Homo sapiens also exist, so we need to study them. So then we studied, right? Around the 16th century, second point, from the 16th century, so the 16th century, Europe underwent a paradigm shift in philosophical thinking as it is expanded its geopolitical boundaries across the world in terms of travel and trade. So, like, what happened here around 16th century? What is the speciality of the 16th century? Europe underwent a paradigm shift in philosophical thinking as it is expanded its geopolitical boundaries in terms of travel and trade. So they expanded through this travel and trade, through maritime trade and travel, and they thought, okay, so there is many other cultural models which we do not know, which we have to expand our knowledge about them. So there was growing disillusionment with the church, and at that time Europe was going through a renaissance at which new ideas and science is advancing by controlling the church power over science, over everything, right? So the dictums, the French Revolution as well as the American Revolution brought about the realization that the social order was not based on divine origins. Social order was not based on divine origins, but was an entity that could be shaken to its roots by human action and agency. So what we know from these things, right? So there is knowledge spread out throughout the human settlements, and knowledge in the sense of the realization that the social order was not based on divine origins, but it is based on the roots of human action and agency. So the institutions, the marriage, birth rituals, the norms, everything is based on human action and agencies. Okay, so even before Darwin, and Wallace had formulated the theories of biological evolution, French thinker and Scottish Enlightenment philosophers are formulating the hypothesis of human social evolution and the possibility of society being a human rather than a divine creation. So this period is like very important. Why this is very important? এইখানে আমি দেখতে পাচ্ছি যে ডারউইন অ্যান্ড ওয়ালেস আমরা জানি কবে করেছে, ওটার আগেই formulated theories of biological evolution. Even before Darwin and formulated the theories of biological evolution, the French thinkers, again Europe, Scottish Enlightenment philosophers were formulating their hypothesis of human social evolution. How society evolved, how culturally we evolved, and the possibility of society being a human rather than a divine creation. So they tried to establish a fact that social evolution is and society a human creation, right? Not a divine creation. Auguste Comte gave the theory of stage by stage evolution of human society. So they human have evolution, human social evolution also gradually evolved throughout the time, right? Human societies, so we can concentrate on Ubaidians or Semites, Ubaidian, then the Uruk civilization, then the Mesopotamia, then the Egyptian civilization. The advancement we can observe throughout the written documented literature. So stage by stage evolution, right? The first, like the rocket is a very advanced stage of a bow and arrow, right? So that's how society and culture evolved, right? Evolved through the following stages: theological, metaphysical, scientific reason. So how? First they have like the theological, through the godlike experiences, like the anima, the atma, the belief of soul, right, and the God. Then the metaphysical, scientific, the metaphysics, like which is partially physics and partially a different thing, different subject, scientific reason. Another major like the witchcraft, like we will say that what is that? The medicine man. Okay, another major contributor to the theory of social evolution was the Herbert Spencer. So we have to remember this name. We have to remember the name, that is Herbert Spencer. He is very important person, and throughout your anthropology career, we know that this is very important name. So who was also a contemporary of Charles Darwin, right? Charles Darwin. Their Comte's and Spencer, their theories, like Comte's and Spencer theories of social and biological evolution overlapped to some extent Spencer's rather controversial theory that societies behave like natural system, where all those parts that were weak or lack survival potential get eliminated, was established as a popular conception of survival of the fittest. That also got mistakenly grafted to Darwin's theory of evolution. So Darwin have also given the theory of evolution through natural selection, and Herbert Spencer provided the social evolution. So he also suggested like evolution overlap to some extent, so that overlap, it is very possible that evolution overlap to some tiny extent. Spencer, rather controversial theory that societies behave like natural system where all those parts that are weak or lack survival get eliminated was established as the popular conception of survival of the fittest, right? So maybe we have like 10 children of a dog, fine. So out of 10, only 4 or 5 unfortunately they will survive because they are more fit to the environment, right? And then like the seeds of the plants or the number of flowers, all are the probability of the chances of out of them maybe 100 or maybe 1 or maybe 2 the probability will be survive. So like that the institutions or a system or a structure I will say that just like the bricks of a building, so we have to develop the quality of the bricks, we have to make it more strong, time by time. You can observe, if you observe like old buildings like the clay brick buildings, that the clay have the brick have developed nowadays, and it is a very different kind of brick comparing to that old brick. So these structures, and here in society the brick is example of a institution or a system, like a marriage. So they have to survive, otherwise it will go obsolete. Okay. So from then two of the greatest 19th century thinkers, that is Freud and Marx, like Sigmund Freud. This is Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. Write it down, father, or Sigmund Freud, father of psychoanalysis, right? So 19th century thinkers there. So thinkers means who will think about, like they will be the social engineers about the social problems and they will solve it. Okay. So Marx, another will be the Karl Marx. Okay. Another is Karl Marx. Okay. Also followed the positivist philosophy to put forward the scientific theories of human biophysical and social development respectively. So Freud studied the psychological part. The psychological part means the behavioral part, right? What Marx followed? Marx studied the economy. Okay, how these two forces propagating or giving direction to cultural modernity, right? So we can see the industrial revolution. We have read before industrial revolution. What is industrial revolution? So 1870, there is a huge transformation, and the technology, the machines took place in the factories, and many people loses their job. So this is known as like I have just provided an overview of that. So it's like a revolution, a industrial revolution. Everywhere there is an industry. So raw materials coming from India and all this Africa and all these places, and they are producing the like the clothes, like the textiles to the in the industry, and many other things by use of machines, of course. So Trotman in 1997 was described how the British treated Indians with respect and almost as long as they were trading. But as soon as the rule of Queen Victoria established Indians and their culture was denigrated to the level of savagery, and all native customs were despairingly dismissed as uncivilized. The rising need of capitalist economy were pushing Europe to a relentless search for resources to feed its growing industry, both in terms of raw material as well as market for selling their goods. So that was we are talking about. They discussed how British treated Indians with respect and almost like the amazing beautiful part. So before trading, as long as they are trading, right? So they have to maintain the business relationship. But as soon after 1857, the Sipahi Vidrah, like Sipahi revolution, Queen Victoria established Indian and their culture was degenerated to the level of savagery, and all native customs he have ordered to erase. Okay. So it was the evolutionary theories that justifies and supported the spread of European rule by creating the image of primitive other, as put by array of scholars from Comte, Bakoven, Maine, Henryman, MacLennan and other. Human societies had gone through several stages that also linearly progressive. The peak of evolution was reached by the Western societies, whose dominance was further justified by Spencer's dictum of survival of the fittest. Thus, the Europeans were succeeding because they were more fit, and also the people were colonizing were primitive, who were compared to immature children by Freud and were considered lower stages of mental evolution by Darwin. So here we can observe the critical the ostracification of Indians in a mass level in anthropology in that period. Here by following the theory of Herbert Spencer, survival of the fittest, Europeans think, but they structured themselves that they are the superiors because they are way more advanced and we were primitive. Our way of life is very indigenous or very primitive, very old. They have downgraded us and they have ruled, and in that way they are very in an advantage, right? The discipline anthropology was finally established a distinct discipline with A.B. Tylor assuming the chair of anthropology at the Oxford University, right? The goals of the discipline were to formally study and research the origin and diversity of human being. Darwin had firmly established that the human was a single species biologically, and the race theories that had attributed difference in human societies to the racial differences were discarded at the scholarly level. So the racial discrimination we know from the situation in Africa, the apartheid and all, right? In Nazi we know the Jews and the discriminations. The racial discrimination based on some race, based on some belief, that people like that the same thinking. One is superior and one will be the subordinate, right? The discipline of anthropology then was to examine the biological as well as the social evolution of human and to explain the observed differences by physical types of social and cultural life, right? The discipline of anthropology then was to examine the biological as well as social evolution of human and to explain the observed differences by physical types and of social and cultural life. The biological evolution needed to look beyond the time when humans becomes humans. So biological evolution was rooted in paleoanthropology, the study of fossil remains of humans and pre-human hominids. You have seen Indiana Jones and all that paleoanthropological related films, very interesting. So primatology, Jane Goodall, we know, so study of behavior, what we are learning from different kind, different way, and applying them in our society, or want to know how our society was, right? So the social evolution one not only examine prehistorical remains and archaeological roots, but also consider existing human societies as a remain of past of the most evolved societies, namely the Western European. Understand? So the discipline of anthropology then was to examine the biological. So they are at that time. So at that time we were like how will say? Okay, page we will add. Okay, so like. So so at that time, so anthropologists started to study both the parameters in both way. One is social and another is biological, in both way, and relate this to get a holistic, empirical study, right, or research, right? They look beyond the time when humans become humans. So biological evolution was rooted in paleoanthropology, namely the Western European. Anthropology diversified into four main branches: physical, biological, that dealt with the human biological diversity; linguistic, and dealt with the relationship of the culture and language; archaeology, that delved into the past of human society; social cultural anthropology. So we have branches of anthropology. Biological. So what is it like? Why? Because anthropology is a holistic study covering most of the discipline related to human or Homo sapiens, right? Then the social anthropology, then paleoanthropology or archaeology, like the archaeological anthropology, the prehistory. Archaeological anthropology, right? Then linguistic anthropology. So anyone is interested in language, they can go for linguistic anthropology, studying human language and effect on their culture, right? So the beginning of 1930, especially the post-World War II period, anthropology was established in a number of countries outside of Western Europe and North America. Very influential work in anthropology originated in Japan, India, China, Mexico, Brazil, Peru, South Africa, Nigeria, and several other Asian, Latin American, and African countries. The world scope of anthropology, together with the dramatic expansion of social and cultural phenomena that transcend the natural and cultural boundaries, has led to shift in anthropological work in North America and Europe. What they are saying, that the world scope of anthropology, together with the dramatic expansion of social and cultural phenomena, expanding because of the trade and travel, and the national and the cultural boundaries have widened. After that, like we have an example of globalization, how globalization and internet have provided us the open to many more societies or many more cultural model. Anthropological work in North America and Europe, right? The modern discourse of anthropology is crystallized in the 1860, followed by advanced biology, philology, and archaeology. In The Origin of Species in 1859, Charles Darwin affirmed that all forms of life shared common ancestry. Anthropology in 1950 was, for historical and economic reasons, institutes as a discipline mainly found in Western Europe and North America. Field research was established as the hallmark of all the branches of anthropology, while some of the anthropologists studied the folk tradition in Europe and America. Most were concerned with the documenting how people lived in non-industrial setting outside these areas. This finally detailed studies of everyday life of people in a broad range of social, cultural, historical, and maternal circumstances were among the major accomplishments of anthropologists in the second half of the 20th century. But this was the phase 1950 after the World War II. The leaders or the I will say the world view of every countries concentrated to know each other and to, after learning from those war and the calamities created by humans, we should know and we should apply to these things so that in future we cannot afford a war, right? So this finally details studies of everyday life of people, broad range of social, cultural, and historical material circumstances were among the major accomplishment of anthropologists in the second half. The first generation of anthropologists have tended to rely on others, locally based missionaries, colonial administration, and so to collect ethnographic information, often guided by questionnaires that were issued by metropolitan theorists, right? Often guided by questionnaires. So there is a set of questionnaires, set of questions like what is your name? So we probably have many questions like this, and based on the problem we are going to approach. The questionnaire will be based on that. Like if we are going to study how is it, the baul, the folk singer of Bengal, and folk singer, baul singer, and their detailed study, like detailed study about Baul, the folk singer of Bengal, right? We will study that. So what we need for that? We need specific set of questions before going to the field work. So field work is the ultimate thing. Before going to the field work, we have to read about Baul, who are the Baul. We have to go with some set of ideas, like who, where are they, who are going to study, and a set of questions. Later we will study about these things. Just have a quick idea or quick concept, or like what I would say, like a structure, or not a structure, like okay, fine. That was issued by metropolitan theorist, right? Next. So from World War II, I will provide two examples. One is from this is from Germany, and how Nazi, like the Nationalist Socialist Party, have used the Anthropology. So this is a journal, like paper I have collected. So what we studied this, a little known episodes of anthropological history, that the Austrian anthropology in the Third Reich, that period of 1933-1945, during which Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party ruled Germany and invaded countries in every direction from its own geographical area. It is an unhappy history that was not much researched and discussed until recently, because above all it is discrediting history, right? Anthropologists along with medical doctors play a vital role in sorting people into categories. So we are talking about the racial discrimination. So anthropologists studied them and identified them who are Jewish, okay, in the Reich means in the government, while the public has become familiar with accounts of Joseph Mengele, the butcher of Auschwitz. Auschwitz is a concentration camp where they used to genocide and kill Jews. They think of him as a de-arranged individual and do not place him in the context of crime committed by a larger class of perpetrators. Like Mengele, who had received a doctorate in anthropology in Munich, these criminals were men with degrees in medicine and anthropology. So this is an example of Joseph Mengele. Who was the Joseph Mengele? So who was Joseph Mengele? Joseph Mengele identified the Jews based on anthropological approach, physical parameters mostly. We will study it deeply later. This is from World War II, from the from the period of World War II, right? So he was a doctor in Auschwitz, the concentration camp, Germany. Okay. He studied anthropology and he used to use this application. Next, we will concentrate on the another part where the anthropological national anthropological perspective of the cultural aspect, where before was the physical aspect used by the Germans, Nazi, to discriminate, the racial discrimination and genocide the Jews. Over 30 million Jews have been died. So this is another one where anthropological perspective of national character. I was telling that people were curious to know about themselves, about the there is a series in YouTube you can watch, that is Stranger Abroad. So what does it mean? That your neighbor, but you are very stranger, like we don't know each other, so let's know each other, and this is the period of starting of globalization, I think. In a brief span of less than 2 decades, anthropological involvement in the systematic study of national character was waxed to a high pitch of enthusiasm and wanted to be tiny ripple of continuing interest. Between 1942 and 1953, 10 more books by anthropologists were published on the subject of the national character of Americans, Japanese, Balinese, Chinese, Germans and Great Russians. Okay, working developed upon various aspects of the culture and national character on the French, Norwegian, Hollandier, Czech, Australian, Thai, Indians are prepared but not brought to public competition before the steam went out of the project. So there is a famous book of Ruth Benedict, Japanese. She studied the Japanese social scientist Benedict book. Okay, American anthropologist and national character, the study of culture at a distance. So Margaret Mead studied that the study. Okay. (1953) a study of a culture at a distance. So you were standing here and there is a land, you went and you find out there is two other people and they are completely different dressing up, right? So you asked and want to know about them. So she studies about the study of a culture at a distance. Margaret Mead. (1953). Okay. So in the next we see this is E.B. Tylor when and Auguste Comte. He studied, E.B. Tylor studied the quirky tool. No, sorry, the E.B. Tylor started the society and mostly known as the armchair anthropologist because he took help from the traders, the maritime sailors, and based on their perspective he written down. And this is Auguste Comte, and this is Herbert Spencer, who told that the great aim of education is not knowledge but action. So we have to learn and apply it for action. This is Oxford University, but for us as anthropology as a professional discipline opened. And this is the French Revolution, the starting of a new age, right? So this will be this is the emergence. This is the emergence what we study today. So in this part, like the CC1, this is we study the emergence today, and tomorrow it will be history. It is mostly related, not very apart, and we will study in a deep concept like how we study the emergence. Same we will study the history and the divergence, like the different disciplines or different discipline origins, right? The divergence of anthropology. So we will critically analyze every aspect of anthropology in this video, right? So I have written this code. It will help you to figure it out from where we are learning. Like if you open the syllabus, this code will be in the top of your structure. Thank you. Hope you will like this. And if any criticization, please tell me and comment your problem.